Hello, everyone. My name is John from Community Life Church in Catskill, New York, and this is Meals Ready to Eat from the Bible. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to get notified. Facebook, follow us, like us, and everybody, please leave a comment. Thanks. Hello, and welcome back. Today's episode is the parable of the sower, part 11, being a fruit bearer. Jesus commands you, and me, of course, to bear fruit in season and out of season. To start with, this is not directly concerning the parable of the sower, but a little bit, talking about a plant bearing fruit and all that. But to begin with, sometimes Jesus says things, we read things in the Bible that we find confusing or even disturbing. They're odd, we don't understand them. But we need to think about what he's saying and what has been written down and what we're reading, and we need to think about the passage around this particular verse that may bother us, or maybe even more, or maybe even read the whole gospel. So we have to understand what he's saying. And that is the case with the story of the fig tree in Mark chapter 11. Now this is stuck in the middle of the triumphant entry, which we celebrated just on Palm Sunday, and the cleansing of the temple. In between this, we see Jesus gets to a fig tree and sees it, and then he sees it later on or the next day. So let's go take a look at these passages, and let's get this up on the screen here for you. This is in book of Mark, chapter 11, 13, and 14, and 20. And Jesus, seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. Now you would think, by the way, that Jesus would know that, and he did know it, but there's something more going on here. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And the disciples heard it. Then they went to the temple, cleansed the temple, came back. And as they passed by in the morning, presumably the next morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. So the fig tree had died and, was gone, had withered, had been killed. And this is kind of an odd thing for us, but again, Jesus is telling us something and he wants us to understand it. So let's see if we can sort of break this down and get to the bottom of it and see what Jesus is saying to us. First of all, he expects those who hear his words to act on them and bear fruit. He's just not talking so we can hear or have something to do on Sunday. He's expecting something from us. And that something is to multiply and to grow, to bear fruit. And this is more than just adding people to the church, although it includes that. That's all part of it. Excuse me. Get a little sip of tea here. We are to grow in God's grace and to spread the hope of the gospel. Those two things, he wants that from us. That's the fruit he's talking about. Now, Jesus gives us the power, which is more than just the ability. It transcends just the ability to do something to accomplish this. This is, of course, Jesus' power. Excuse me. And he tells us about this power in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, right before he ascends into heaven. He says this, "But you will receive," not maybe, not perhaps, or maybe some of you, it means you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be my witnesses. So this is a definite thing. He says we have the power to produce fruit and to reproduce and to do everything he told us to do. And Jesus is speaking to all the members of the church, and the power of the Holy Spirit is coming upon all believers. It's not just some, or maybe almost all, but it's all believers, all who follow him, in all who follow the gospel. And this is the power to bear fruit. And Jesus tells us it's always the season to bear fruit. Unlike that poor fig tree, what he's saying is the fig tree wasn't the season, but Jesus expects fruit to come out of it. Now, all of the natural world, all of nature is going to say, no, this is not the time. It's cold out, it's dark out, the weather's too nice, you got to do something else, or this or that. Nature does not transcend Jesus. Jesus is in charge of nature, and he's in charge of this fig tree. Our society tells us it's not time to bear fruit. They want us to keep quiet and not to preach. They don't want to hear what the gospel has to say. And that's always been the case. That's normal with humanity, but they're telling us to be quiet. So all the world, and maybe even some in our church at large, are saying, no, not you, not now. So, we may sometimes get told, or, well, it's not the time to grow, or it's not the time for this. It's always the time to grow. It's always the time to bear fruit. It's always the time to share the gospel. And he is saying, Jesus is saying, yes, you, now, and always. This is something that Jesus definitely wants us to do. So what is God, what is he saying to you? What is he saying to me? Well, he's saying, look, this can be terrifying, but we don't have to be afraid. And we can be ministers of the gospel. We can bring the hope of the gospel to our communities, to our families, to people we know. We can all do that. We can bring the hope we have because of the gospel to all people at all times. And there are as many ways to bear fruit as there are people in the church. It's not the same for everybody. Sometimes we hear that, oh, well, I did this, I did that, I did this. You have to do those 3 things. Well, that's not always the case, but you do have to pay attention to your leaders and get guidance from them on this. And this is about life producing more life. And that is always in season. Okay, life always produces more life. Life always produces fruit. And it's always a season in the gospel, in the church, to produce more fruit. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. All right, thanks for watching. You can find us on the web at clchurch.cc. That's clchurch.cc. We meet 10:30 Sunday mornings in 20 West Main Street, Catskill, New York. Hope to see you there, and thanks once again.